where the flights are, when they're coming in, if they're on time. And it was like cancellation, 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 delay. And you can tell where they're from. A lot of cancellations from Texas, from Washington, from New York, and virtually everything else was on a 2 to 3 hour delay, which is what happened here. This flight came in from Ottawa at 3:30, and it was supposed to be in at 1 something.
We good, Chloe?
We are good to go.
All right. I'm going to call this meeting to order. There's my gavel. Before we start, I'm just going to read a little statement. The 2026 operational budget, which we are about to review in detail, is being presented slightly different than in previous years due to the introduction of the Strong Mayors legislation. This is a requirement that the draft budget be tabled in its entirety on or before February 1st. The budget we are reviewing this evening has gone through the same rigorous development process which has been used in previous years by taking the known information available and combining it with reasonable assumptions to arrive at a budget that addresses the needs of the municipality. My only direction to staff was to bring forward a budget that had an increase of less than last year. As you will see, there are a number of large increases that the municipality is faced with this year, including an 11% increase to OPP services contract, a 6.2% increase in the contributions to joint services administered by the United Counties, and a redistribution of the municipal levies across the recently merged regional health unit, resulting in an increase of 36.9%. There are some increases in revenues, such as the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, provided by the Government of Ontario, which recognize the socio and economic factors facing our municipality, which have helped to offset these increases. This budget seeks to retain the levels of services our residents and businesses have come to expect while balancing the financial needs on the municipality and the impact of taxpayers. The 2026 operational budget being put forward this evening results in an average of 3.94% increase in the combined municipal and education property taxes and a 3.5% increase in water and wastewater fees on July 1st, 2026. This increase is inclusive of a 1% increase in property taxes dedicated to the infrastructure reserve, which enables Prescott to meet its future asset replacement needs. I will now turn it over to the treasurer to take us through the 2026 operational budget once I go through everything else. Okay. So next thing up is our approval of the agenda. Can I get a mover and seconder for approving the agenda? Moved by Councillor Tracy Young, seconded by, I see Mary on my screen. That's all I see. So I'll go with those two. All in favor? Let me see here. Let me see if I can. No, oh boy. Okay, can you guys just say yay or nay?
Yay.
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 Right.
Yay.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right. Are there any declarations of interest tonight?
No.
Was that anybody? So my
No.
only problem is I can only see 5 people at once, and unfortunately I'm one of them. Okay, so I'm going to assume there's no declaration of interest. We don't have any presentations or delegations tonight. We're good. That's better. Okay, I can see that. Next up is we're going to review the minutes of the last meeting. So that would have been January 12th. Can I have a mover and a seconder? The motion is that we accept the minutes of the January 12th meeting.
I would do that, Gord.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Second, actually, it's Deputy Mayor Ray Young. Fix that little title there.
I can second that.
And Councillor Burton. All in favor?
Aye.
Yay.
Favor.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Approved. Carried. All right. No communications and petitions tonight. Consent reports. Motion is that all items listed under the consent report section of the agenda be accepted as presented. Is there anyone that wants to take anything out of there? Seeing none, I'll get a mover and seconder on the consent agenda. Moved by
I will, Justin.
Councillor Kirkby, seconded by
I'll second it.
Councillor McConnell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Good. Um, there's no committee reports tonight. The next thing is the mayor's report. Mr. Armstrong and I went to Roma last weekend, and it was a busy weekend. There was a lot of round tables that I really like the round tables. That's when you get a whole bunch of ministers up there and you can ask them direct questions. I find that the questions are better that way because they're not really prepared for them. So that was good. There was a really good Q&A with a national reporter. Her name was Chantal Hebert. She had a lot of insights into municipal government and federal and provincial government. So I enjoyed her talk. There was a couple of breakout sessions. One was with regards to communications with the public. A lot of the same struggles that we have in terms of, we only have a newspaper that goes every 2 weeks, so it's hard to get the information out there. So they talked a lot about social media and newsletters and like almost virtual announcements. So through emails, through chat groups and everything like that. So that was really well done. They do these things, and I discussed it with Matthew afterwards, but they have a staff of 4 or 5 people to do them. So that's great, but trying to budget for that, I think we're doing a good job. So that was a good weekend, well learned. We didn't have any delegations. We were supposed to help out with 3 delegations, but they were all at the same time, which, we're there for 4 days and you got 3 delegations all at the same time in 3 different locations too. So you'd really have to be a wizard to get to all of them. But overall, it was a good weekend, and it's always good for us to go to. Didn't see any $500,000 toilets or anything like that this year, so we stayed away from that. All right, we'll go around the room, see if anyone other than shoveling snow, if they have any committee reports to go on. So I'm just going to go the way my screen is. Councillor Kirkby, you're up first.
I don't have much to report other than the snow. We did have another, it wasn't a real water main break. It was a fire hydrant gasket that let go on North Square that was repaired the same day, went quite smoothly. Outside of that, I really don't have anything to report tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Kirkby. Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I have nothing to report, although I would like to note that the curling club had another very successful bonspiel this past week. It's something they've been playing for several years now, and it's something that both men and women participate in. It's a great, enjoyable time. And I see on Facebook they had another successful event this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
I had nothing to report, but now I can say that my team came 3rd in the bonspiel.
All right.
Yeah, good for you.
That's it.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Councillor Tracy Young.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. We had a BIA meeting last week, and Councillor Ray Young was also in attendance. We formed a budget working group to look at our 2026 budget. We supported our BIA coordinator to attend a conference in April for the Ontario BIA Association, and we feel that's going to be really beneficial to the town and to the downtown for him to attend. We also supported and passed a motion to support the town of Prescott on their Rural Ontario Development Program application to a maximum limit of $40,000. I also attended a Heritage Committee meeting. It was a really productive meeting. We reviewed 11 properties with a view to either move forward with the recommendation to approve or remove them from the municipal list. Also happy to report that our chair recently attended a 4-day training session led by a heritage professional, and she will be providing her report to us at the next meeting. And just a note that we're very lucky to have such a committed chair on the board. And that's all for me.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Tracy Young. Okay, switch around. Councillor Burton. There we go.
I've been away for the last couple of weeks and enjoying the sunny south, but I did hear that there was a pickleball club tournament at the Leo this past weekend, and it was very well attended. And I'll have more updates as I get caught up on all the emails and for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the proceeds went to the food bank. So
Nice.
I think, yes, that was
is good. That's really good.
Have I got everybody?
Nope, nothing to report though.
Okay. Thank you, Ray.
So you must have read my mind.
Sorry, the pictures keep moving around. That's why I was like, oh, who'd I miss? All right, that's good. Very good, everyone. Thank you for that. So we're going to move on to staff reports. The first one is staff report 03-2026, the 2026 River Route update. The motion is that council directs staff to renew the River Route Transit Service Partnership Agreement for the period of April 1st, 2026 to March 31st, 2027. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Deputy Mayor Ray Young.
I'll second it.
Justin Kirkby will second it. All right, Mr. Locke, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. So I'm going to provide a little annual overview of the River Route service, and then also note that what we're asking for at this time is for council to direct staff to renew the River Route Partnership Agreement for the period of April 1st, 2026 to March 31st of 2027. So the town of Prescott, along with the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal and Augusta Township, are all partners in this River Route agreement. And just part of our duties as defined in the agreement is that we must provide written notice by February 28th if we wish to continue with the contract. Alternatively, if we wish to terminate, then we also must submit written notice of that by February the 28th. So essentially, we have a month to provide written notice to our plans moving forward. Digging into the service, our total ridership for 2025 was 7,240 riders. This was actually a decrease of 0.5%, which is 37 riders. So in 2024, we had a total of 7,277 riders. And then going back a little bit further, in 2023, we were at 5,694 riders. And so we've certainly increased beyond where we started back in 2022. But between 2024 and 2025, we were essentially flat. A couple things to highlight. We had 320 kids rides that occurred in 2025. This was a little lower than last year. It was 350 in 2024. These kids rides are free of charge. We want to highlight these rides have helped supporting students participate in after-school extracurricular activities that end too late for the school bus. So it allows high school kids that go to school outside of Prescott to still make it home safely when games or practices end beyond normal school hours. Some other couple trends to notice. So we now have an even proportion of users paying with tickets rather than cash. The ticket route requires people to buy a 10-pack of tickets ahead of time. So it would seem to indicate these are people that are using the service regularly. So last year, 49% of riders were using tickets rather than cash. That's up from 43% last year, which was the highest to date. And so what we're starting to see emerge is more and more of the user base is regularly relying on that service. Additionally, the City of Brockville has completed installation of an automated vehicle location system into the buses. This will allow them to track time and location of riders getting on and off the bus. which is not something that we don't have that dynamically available before this system was installed. So we're waiting on Brockville to present to Prescott with a report for 2025, which will break down the ridership by time and location. So that'll help us a little bit in terms of digging into what stops aren't being used or what time is the bus busy, and really help us target some of our route planning a little bit better. So moving on to the financial segment of the report, I'm actually going to pass it to Matthew, and he's going to walk us through that.
Thank you very much, Matt. So how we started this was each of the municipalities was contributing $30,000 for a 12-month period between Augusta, Prescott, and Edwardsburg Cardinal. Given that currently Prescott's ridership is less than 5%, they wanted to have a discussion around being able to perhaps resize their contribution.
I think you meant Augusta.
Sorry, Augusta. To resize their contribution, and then as they begin to grow, then they would then take on a larger portion. Through that conversation, they felt that 5% would be a good number to start with, and then in further discussions with Edwardsburg Cardinal, we presented the idea of each of us splitting the difference equally of what the decrease of Augusta would be versus Augusta or Edwardsburg Cardinal and Prescott. So that would mean that Prescott's yearly contribution would go to from 30,000 to 42,750, and similarly, Edwardsburg Cardinal would increase that same amount. One point Councilor McConnell brought up is that you'll see in the budget that I don't have those numbers in there. It's 36,945. And why we do that is that we're showing that we don't require the full amount of the allocation, but our contribution and the money that we receive from the government is based on our total contribution to the service. So we put in an annual allocation between the three municipalities of 90,000. We add that to any bus fares, and then the government, through the gas tax fundings, provides 75% of that total amount. So what we're demonstrating with the 36 is that there would be an amount left over that will go into reserve, and we're continuing to try and build that reserve to be able to support the purchase of a bus moving forward. And so that's really the difference between the 42 and the 36. And when we talk about the budget in a few minutes from now, that I have put the net difference of 42,000 in the budget as being the full amount, and anything not used will go into reserve. So when we take a look at where we were in 2025, we had a total cost per ride of 25.23. If we increase both our ridership and our costs in 2026, then we would stay at the 25.23. That was coming from a much larger number. Back not just 2 years ago, we were running at 29.90. And since then, we've decreased 15.6% over the 2023 amount. So just showing you that we are moving in the right direction. Certainly, I think anecdotally, we heard that overall ridership in the system is down. It's not unique to Prescott, but a number of municipalities. But we'll wait for those other municipalities to complete their annual report, which will be in a month or two, and then we'll be able to compare our ridership to those as well. More than happy to answer any questions on the financial, and Matt can answer any questions on the operation side.
I see Councillor Burton, then Deputy Mayor Young.
Thanks, Mayor Shankar. How are we, it could be either Matt or Matthew, how are we promoting the bus at our local schools to make sure that the kids know if they're participating in an after-school program that this service is available to them?
Sure, I can speak to that one. I mean, I do think that most of the, there was quite a bit of social media advertising when the service first launched, but there really has not been a large targeted marketing push towards the schools. Certainly our intention for this year is to ramp up on our end from the town of Prescott's end, ramp up our use of social media advertising. But you raise a very good point. We don't have a plan in place now, but we absolutely can work with the schools in our own communities to start making sure that we're having teachers or principals put that information out to the students. So we're a small enough team. There's no reason we can't go direct and work with these sports teams and after school programs directly to make sure that they're aware of service options.
Deputy Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
Young? Sorry, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. Also, too, if we're getting the kids to ride the bus, that might encourage their friends to ride the bus, it might encourage other people to ride the bus. It could be a ripple effect. How easy this service is to our municipality and other municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burton. Deputy Mayor Young.
All right, thank you. Matthew, is there a provision that allows us to add another stop inside the boundaries of the town?
But certainly we can add a stop at any time as long as it's on the same route. Really what we did is this year we added a number of stops along the route to be able to address where people were mostly getting on or getting off. But certainly we can add another stop at any time.
So more direct, can we, when the new grocery store opens, for instance, have the bus swing in there?
I believe that should be possible, or at the very least to be able to stop on Edward as it's traveling south on that side. And so, but certainly that can be a discussion with City of Brockville, and we know that we do want to change the route in Maitland to be able to pick up a couple of minutes there. So I'm sure we will be able to negotiate something to be able to provide that. I can also let Matt speak to that one as well.
All right. I believe we have an audience downtown that we're not reaching out to, and that would be seniors in the several buildings downtown who do not drive. They could pick up a bus in front of the old museum, go out to the grocery stores, shop for an hour, and then come back downtown. I think the route is about an hour circuit, so it would give them an opportunity to do some grocery shopping, to socialize, and to take advantage of the bus. It would increase their ridership, especially if we were able to reduce the price from a $5 trip to a $5 round trip. So I'm wondering if those items could be talked about and brought forward at a later date.
Certainly, we can discuss them and bring them forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Young. Anyone else? Councillor Campbell, and then Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Shankar. I'd just like to echo Councillor Ray Young's comments. In Brockville, in town, on that same bus that zips through, they're paying $2.50 to get around Brockville. So I would hope that we would be able to get people from downtown to uptown for $2.50, which is what Councillor Ray Young said, $5 round trip. And we could also have a stop at the arena. I'm not sure if there is one there now. And that would alleviate people worried about walking down the road to the arena. So those are all pretty interesting ideas that I hope we can look into in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. One of the questions I asked this afternoon in regards to the total amount that is budgeted for the river route, and that's $191,769 for 2026. Just so people listening are not under the impression that we are footing a bill of $91,769. Matthew, if I can ask you this through the mayor, Prescott does actually do the books for the river route. It is running through our books at 191,000, as is the grant from the government and the contribution from the other two municipalities. Am I correct there?
That is correct.
That's very short and sweet. Thank you. All right, that's good. And if I may, I echo Ray's and Mary's sentiments about a north-south or south-north route on that bus. That given the second grocery store and Giant Tiger and the original grocery store out there, I think that's an excellent idea.
All right. Any other questions? Councillor Young?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I echo everybody's comments as well, and it's nice to hear that we can come up with new promotional ideas and initiatives. And I think it could be possible that we could even tie in tourism initiatives as well. And I think a lot of times, like, ridership matters, but it shouldn't be the only measure of value. I think it's really important that our residents deserve, people that don't have vehicles, seniors, students, that they all have access to regional connectivity. Thank you.
All right. No further, I don't see any further hands or questions. So I'm gonna call the question. All in favor?
I
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
I can see everyone. Okay,
Sure.
great. Leanne? I can't see you.
Oh,
Oh, where'd you go?
yes.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. Carried.
Mayor Shankar,
Yep.
can I ask a question that has nothing to do with approving this budget, but is bus related?
Okay.
Given the fact that Augusta is kind of backed off on their contribution, and we are looking to buy a new bus with a contribution from the government, how would that affect the funding of the bus? Or does Matthew have an idea on that? Would we have to get more money for a new bus, or what?
We're waiting for a couple of things. If we were to get funding for a new bus, we have enough in reserve currently between the previous municipalities to be able to cover any local portion. We should be hearing in the next month or so what our total funding for 2025, 2026 is. And we will confirm exactly, if we weren't to get funding for a new bus, if we'd be able to afford that by what we've built up in reserves. So that's still to come. But if we were to get a grant, then we already have enough in reserve from previous contributions to be able to cover that local portion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Locke. All right, we're going to move on to 12.2, the 2026 operational budget. Matthew, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm just going to take a moment to share my screen. Okay, hopefully everyone can now see the operational budget presentation on the screen.
Yep.
Yep, perfect. Great. So this evening we're going to go through expenses, fees and revenue, property taxation, the overall operational budget, and then the water wastewater budgets. As we go through, if there's questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. I appreciate Councillor McConnell sending his questions in earlier today, and I will attempt to address them. If I forget to, just please note, and I'll tackle them as we go. So from the expenses side of things, we have administration, protective services, transportation, environmental, health services, social services, parks and recreation, planning and development. Just some overarching items on expenses is the QP and non-union salary increase is 4% for 2026. And that's based on the negotiation that we had with the union earlier in 2025 that was settled. Non-union pay equity review is still underway, and the uh, should know the results of that early in 2026. We went out to market for our benefits renewal in 2025, which resulted in a yearly decrease of $49,400. And that was simply getting competitive bids. We ended up staying with the same provider, but it was good news that we were able to cut that cost down. Canada Pension Plan is going up by 4.9%. The new Canada Pension Plan 2 contributions are going up by 5.1, and employment insurance is going up by 4.2. While the rates didn't change, the amount that is covered by pensionable contributions and insurable contributions for EDI have increased, and that's why you're seeing those there. From a liability and property insurance perspective, in 2025, 2026, the increase was approximately 3.84%. We applied a 5% increase to the renewal rates, which resulted in a increased budget over budget of 16,900. Joint services is increasing by 6.2% or 41,000, and the public health unit levy is increasing by 36.9% or $31,000. This is really due to a rebalancing of the municipal levies across the various municipalities and the predecessor health unit. So in, I believe, Kingston and Frontenac, their municipal levies were much, much higher. In the other two municipal health units that merged, they were much lower, so they balanced them all out, and ours was obviously went up significantly. So all of Lanark, Leeds, Grenville went up significantly. But in terms of total levy, it didn't increase all that much. Councillor McConnell?
Thank you. Matt. If I remember, was presented. The area of Kingston had a pretty whopping big deficit situation. Is our money going to pay off their deficit?
No,
or is that something you can answer?
None of the money is going to pay deficits, predecessor, that sort of thing. All of that was taken care of through transition funding with the Ontario government providing money for that. So really, this is just they took the total municipal levy and then applying the same per person rate across all the municipalities. The Lennox and Addington, Lanark, Leeds, Grenville, their levies were very much lower than what they were in Kingston and Frontenac. And so you're just seeing that rebalancing in this. But in terms of the total municipal levy, they're very similar to the prior year.
Thank you.
Okay. So one thing that we did in 2025 is increase the community grant allocation to tie it to 1% of the prior year tax increase or property taxes. So that results in a small increase of about $3,800 to a total allocation for the community grants of $68,217. The waste collection contract was adjusted in 2025 to recognize and reflect the economic challenges of the local collectors. The full year effect of that is in this budget, and that's the 42,345 that we're seeing. The Ontario Provincial Police, we spoke about that in just late last year, in that the increase for 2026 is $133,565, which is 11% increase over 2025. And one unique thing about 2026 is that there is a municipal election. We put $5,100 a year away over the 4 years to be able to support that. We expect it to cost approximately $24,000, which that total amount will be pulled from reserve. So there is no bottom line impact, but certainly we want to reflect it and the cost that will be incurred in 2026. So when we take a look at the various areas, council, and again, this is from the expense side, a very small increase, mostly just in salaries. For administration, there's a number of items, a total increase of 55,000, but heritage notices, we are expecting, and as Councillor Young noted, that they're moving quickly through the heritage review of properties, and so there is additional costs in relation to those notices. Audit fees are increasing by approximately $8,000. Software licenses by about 10,000. Salary increase of 26, and then staff activities, barbecues, that sort of thing is 5,000. When we take a look at the taxation side, it's going up by 109. Of that, 1% is the increase dedicated to infrastructure of 68,000. We also moved the amount that was a transfer to reserve in relation to the St. Lawrence Lodge increase from a couple of years ago. We've moved that now under this budget, in that we've gone through 2 budget cycles now and not requiring it. So it's just going into an overall reserve, which I can talk to about that, and being able to cover whatever adjustments out of pay equity we would be able to use that for. And then also there, if you remember last year, we made a late addition to the budget of adding an extra 0.5%. That was about 30 some thousand. And so that's actually was removed from the transfer to reserve to cover off the increase to the waste contract. So really, when we take a look at this total number, it's going up by 192. But of that, nearly 90 some thousand is just moving in from another department. So just pausing there. Are there any questions on the
Matthew?
administrative side? Yes.
Remind me, is this the last year we pay for the debenture of St. Lawrence Lodge?
Yes, it is. And then when we get to that one, I'll show you where I put that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to protective services. So the fire department increasing by 45,000. Really, a large portion of that 32 is just in relation to a full year of the debenture. So we were expecting to have, I believe, 7 months of debenture last year. It didn't end up ending until the end of the year. And so from budget to budget, we increased that to reflect a full year worth of that contribution, and then $11,000 in salaries. For the police, I mentioned earlier the increase of 130,000. From a bylaw perspective, our animal control contract is increasing. We're now covering both cats and dogs. It was limited to dogs, and now we've expanded that to cats as well. And then they're also reflecting the need for overnight enforcement of bylaw in the winter, and then weekends in the summer to be able to support that. And then finally, we have the building department and building inspections. We have an amount in there for the inspection of large projects. So we've had both the grocery store and the Wellington House that are ongoing projects and require a little bit of support for Sean to be able to do those very large inspections and be able to do them efficiently. And then a small salary increase of 4,500. So when we took a look at this one, a total increase of 215,000, and really the vast majority of that is the OPP. Okay, moving on, transportation services. So from an operations perspective, there's $29,000 increase in salaries, and then we moved training expenses to the traffic below. So it's just a reallocation of budget. The paved roads is where we put our OSIF funding. It's decreasing by $44,000 this year. So there will be a decrease in revenue and a decrease in expense. There's no overall difference. If you remember last year, we didn't do Edward Street because of the large projects that were going on. We've been able to move that money over to 2026 and have approximately $600,000 to spend on road work this year. Obviously, Edward is going to be a large portion of that, and then we'll be able to determine what else we're able to do. Going down to roads traffic, that's the vast majority of our roads budget beyond salary. And as I mentioned, we moved 14,000 from above, and then we're just continuing to see repairs and maintenance increases in those types of things, requiring extra budget dollars to be able to support them. From a winter roads perspective, so that budget's going up by about $11,000. Of that, our overnight removal budget's going from 42,000 to 48, as well as our salt budgets going from 65 to 70,000. So for the overnight removals, it costs approximately $12,000 in contractor costs just for the rental of the numerous trucks and snowblower, the manpower and that sort of thing. So we're able to support four at this point. And then certainly I think there's been some indications by various members of council that might want to look at increasing that. Just to have that as a full understanding, it's about $15,000 a night when you include the overtime cost of our staff as well as the contractor cost. It's not something that we can do on our own just because to be able to keep up with the snowblower, we need about 8 trucks, dump trucks, to be able to continue to move the snow out off site and keep that snowblower moving. And so it's not something that we can simply buy more trucks, or because we simply don't have that capacity or even users to drive the trucks. So just want, if there is an intention to move it forward, then really that's what that looks like. From a winter sidewalk perspective, that's simply the plow cost, the deck cost for the sidewalk plow that we got a couple of years ago. Parking lots are going down a slight amount, just to reflect the current year's projection. Street lighting, really that's a reflection of electricity costs going up, and so we reduced the maintenance cost by 4,000 to be able to support that additional electricity costs. And then the river route, which we just discussed, the expense side is 191. So a grand total of an increase of 43,000. And as I mentioned, we just discussed some of the ups and downs through those budgets. Councilor McCall?
Sorry. Does someone have a question? I have a question then if no one has a question. Matthew, under sidewalks, so 2025, the budget was 74,000. We only used 15,000 of it, right?
Yep.
Can you kind of help us understand where the 60,000 is?
Yep. So that amount is being put in reserve to be able to support projects that will carry over to next year. We were going to use that for the waterfront pathway that runs along by the Deepwater dock. And so it is fairly extensive in what we have to do with that, and we couldn't get it done by the end of the year. So we are putting the money aside to do it in 2026 to be able to really be able to support that portion that's been washed out underneath that sidewalk to be able to move it forward.
Councilor McConnell, did you have a question?
You asked it, Mayor
Okay.
Shankar. I was going to ask where the 59 went.
I made
Well,
it
actually, I was
60.
going to ask why it showed we had 59, only 12.5 are going into reserve, but that's essentially what I was wondering. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Matthew.
When we get to environmental services, so that's storm sewers, not really much of a change there. Waste collection, as I mentioned, that's reflecting a full year of the increase to the collection side that was noted from the contractor. Waste disposal, we're actually finding that went down a little bit, and that's just due to metric tonnage. And waste diversion is the amount that we use for the composting as well as some of the advertising, that sort of thing. I did make a couple of notes in relation to what the prior year looked like. And just as soon as I get to my note there. All right, it's just hiding behind the things there. So in 2024, the net expense for waste collection, waste disposal, and waste diversion, which is the last year in which we were responsible for the pickup and disposal of the blue box items, was a net expense of 107,000. The 2025 budget is projected to be a net expense of 77,000, and the net expense in 2026 is expected to be about 97,000. So between 2024's budget net expense and the 2026 net expense, really we've only gone down $10,000, and so With that, we were being provided approximately 50,000 in revenue, and then the cost for the waste collection going up by 40 some thousand is kind of now why we're only to the good by about 10.
Matthew, there's
Yes.
still a lot of confusion in town about whether we are actually doing recycling or not. Is there some way that we can clear that up in the new year?
So no municipalities in Ontario are now responsible for recycling. They've all been transferred to circular materials, and they have various
Yes,
contractors throughout the province.
I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. I'm just saying we have to make it more clear to the public what's going on.
Okay. And Councilor McConnell?
Thank you, Matthew. There's something coming up a little bit later in regards to the blue box, but the question I have is probably related to that. It's just houses that are being picked up right now, as I understand it, with the blue box. If you have a business, it's not. If you are the food bank, it's not. If you're the Legion, I believe it's not. Before, when we were looking after at least paying for the recycling, were those included in the pickup or not?
They shouldn't have been. However, if people were putting it out, we didn't have a hard and fast rule that we would automatically refuse it. I think we're also seeing that now that when I drive up and down King Street, there's a lot of recycling on Recycling Day on King Street. And so there's no easy way to differentiate the residential from the non-residential. And I believe it's all being taken away.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just further to that, Ray, I know that every time I see it posted on Facebook, I read the comments, and you're getting more and more comments from the public that the town is not responsible for it. So the more the complaints come through, the more people are saying, call Steve Clark or call someone or call Entera, whoever it is that's in charge of it. Don't call the town, because we've been pretty accurate and pretty saying the same thing every time, that we are not responsible for it. So I think that's what we can do going forward. And maybe we can make a monthly reminder or add it to our social media.
Yeah, put it in our tax bills or whatever.
Yeah.
There must be a way that we could get the information out there.
Definitely.
Thank you, Matthew.
When we take a look at health services, as I mentioned, public health is increasing. That's really a rebalancing of the levies across the various municipalities. Paramedics, which is administered by the United Counties through joint services, is going up by 24,000, and cemetery is expected to be pretty flat with a continued municipal contribution of 20,000 in 2026. When we take a look at, sorry, that should have been social services. Ontario Works is increasing again based on the GSC budget of approximately $3,500. St. Lawrence Lodge is decreasing by 362, and this is in reference to I think what Councillor Ray Young was mentioning earlier. So there's a decrease in levy of approximately 28,000 or 10% between 2025 and 2026. We then move the transfer to reserve over to the property taxes budget, which I mentioned earlier. And then we're moving the debt payment to the SRC of 159,000 to either help pay off or pay down some of the expenses we've had so far, and the debt payment that we'll be incurring when we move forward in 2026 with that debt payment. So just moving it out of there, and that's the 362,000, and how I've reallocated amongst those various budgets. Children's services is going up by 12,000, as well as 16 or 1,000 or $1,100 for community housing in relation to joint services budgets. We take a look at recreation. So recreation culture in that is going up by 11,464. Of that, community grant is increasing to match the 1%. And then the library has asked for just shy of a 4% increase. And so that makes up the 11,500. Parks, a small increase there of 5,000. Rec programming, that's to reflect the summer student programming is the same as 2025. So you'll remember that we expanded that programming considerably to add items at the Centennial Park, as well as moving a part-time position and a number of hours to a full-time position to be able to support that department in the added responsibilities and growing programming that we continue to do. Walker House, an increase of just shy of 12,000. There is looking at supporting Walker House 2 days a week to be able to also help them continue to grow their offerings and support. Marina actually down 3,400, but still more than breaking even this year, and we're very pleased to see that. Pool increasing by 2,200. That's just a reflection of a small increase in the amount for the YMCA. The Leo Boylan Community Center, an increase of 3,500, mostly in insurance, that sort of thing. The Senior Recreation Complex, an increase of 199, but as I just mentioned, we moved 159 over there from the St. Lawrence Lodge debenture to be able to support that the continued costs in relation to the capital costs. Library, an increase of 8,100, or an increase from the town of 7,900, and the museum, small increase of 2,800.
Mayor Shankar.
Yeah, go
Uh,
ahead.
It's Councillor Campbell.
Yeah.
I have a question for Matthew through you.
Go ahead.
Matthew, the money that we're spending, so I have to go back to health on Prescott Family Health Team and also Smitherman and
Yeah,
I forget their
so
name.
that comes out of the project budget that
Oh.
is covered by a reserve.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Finally, we get to economic development and planning and development services. So planning, an increase of 1,250. We're also pleased to say that we're processing more planning applications, and so that's helping to offset. And then active tourism increasing by 38, and really that's to continue the support of the various community events and development opportunities that we're supporting, and continue to work through those. So when we take a look at total expenses, it's up by 537,000. And you can kind of, as we walk through each of those, some is a movement in particular from the social services in St. Lawrence Lodge to other budgets. But overall, that's where we are at the moment from a revenue or an expense perspective. So when we take a look at fees and revenues, well, again, we're going to go through administration, protective services, transportation, environmental, health and social services, parks and recreation, and planning and development. So our Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, OMPF, is the main provincial general assistance grant that we receive. It really reflects the socioeconomic factors that Prescott as a municipality faces. And if you remember in the fall of 2024, they announced an increase of the OMPF fund from 500 million to 550 in 2025, and a further increase to 600 million in 2026. So in 2026, the town will receive 1,923,000, or an increase of 185,400. That and we're pleased to say that our first quarterly payment was received today and is now in the bank.
Good.
From an other revenue perspective, the interest and high interest savings account continues to decrease with the decrease in interest rates and the prime interest rate. We're also seeing that our cash position has improved since now that we have the debenture for the fire truck, as well as some payments have come in, so that's improving. Outstanding property tax receivables are increasing. We talked about that and what that looked like at the end of 2024, and we're continuing to see it in 2025 and 26. And then finally, the election is expected to cost 24,000. Again, we put 5,100 aside every single year, and then pull that from the reserve in the election year in which it occurs. So for an administrative revenue perspective, OMPF going up by 185,000. Marriage licenses, we're expecting to go up by 2,250, and that's really just to get to last year's level. We're also very pleased to announce that we have now joined the pilot municipalities in being able to intake marriage licenses electronically and process those. So it certainly streamlines the process, and we are very happy to be able to now be on that system to help support people getting their marriage licenses. Dividends, small increase, just reflecting what we received in 2025. Interest, as I mentioned, is going down from an interest rate perspective, but we believe the total amount of interest we can generate will improve in 2026, simply due to the amount that we have sitting in the high interest savings account. Tax interest, that's where we're seeing our outstanding taxes, property taxes rising. And so that's certainly offsetting the decrease in our surplus funds interest. And then we're also happy to say that the town hall rent has improved greatly with the addition of senior support services. And we must say that they're a very great and lively addition on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We invite anyone to come and visit them while they're here and working at or visiting town hall and doing that programming. And it's a great use of the facility and being able to support people aging in place and being able to give caregivers some time to just take care of themselves. So want to make that note. So in total, administrative revenue is increasing by 239,000, just shy of that. From protective services perspective, sorry, go ahead.
I see Councilor McConnell's hand this time, so go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Matthew, you may recall that I asked you a question about the administration fees on this chart.
Yes,
The 20,
I meant to respond to that one. So
can you explain that, please?
Certainly. So I think it was in December when we showed the October numbers. I had mentioned about receiving a rebate from WSIB. It was a one-time rebate of approximately $80,000 in 2025. So that's where that went into when we don't know where else to put it. We put it in administrative fees. And so really it was just one time. We're not banking on it receiving it in a future year. And so that's why you're seeing the projection at 86,000 and then returning to the more historical 10,000 for 2026.
What was that rebate for, if I might ask?
So WSIB had a surplus in the overall program, and so there was an amount that was announced in the spring, and then an amount that was announced in the fall, and all WSIB schedule, the same schedule grouping that we are in, received a rebate on their premiums from the prior year.
Oh, bonus. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good. Thank you.
From a protective services perspective, fire, a small increase of 2,500. Police services, that's a decrease of two grants. One is the RIDE program, which is now being administered by North Grenville for the entire Grenville detachment. And then the CSP grant is just an inflow and an outflow now, as opposed to us incurring costs of our own and covering our own costs. So that's why you're seeing a decrease in the police revenue there. From a bylaw perspective, just a small increase. Building perspective, really that reflects the additional work that Sean's been doing for Edwardsburg Cardinal, as well as helping support a couple of other municipalities when they're required to do so. And then provincial offenses, which is through JSC, our joint services, is only expected to net just shy of 11,000, which is a decrease from our budget in 2025. So from a OSIF perspective, and I mentioned this earlier, that in 2022, they doubled the size of the overall fund. And so we went from 267,000 to 548. Since then, they've been changing the formula a little bit to adjust it each year. First year, we went down by 72,000, then up by 20,000, then down by 23, then down by 47. Over half the municipalities in Leeds Grenville went down in 2026. And so just we're seeing a reflection of how that calculation continues to evolve from year over year. As I mentioned earlier, we are taking what we didn't spend in 2025 on paving, moving it over into 2026 for a budget much closer to 600,000. So when we take a look at roads, as I mentioned, that is where the OSIF money comes in, and you're seeing that increase in parking lot, and that's really due to there's two things that are that. The EV charging is producing about $3,000 a year in revenue, as well as our continued selling of parking passes through our various lots, and so that's generating revenue as well. River Route, 149,000. If you take the difference between the 191 and the 149, that comes to the difference of 42,750. As I mentioned earlier, we recorded as if we're going to receive everything and move the unspent to reserve. When we were taking a look at the River Route report, we were showing that we didn't necessarily need the whole allocation, but we would put the remainder into reserve. From a waste collection perspective, that revenue we are looking to increase to 206,000. We did notice at the tail end of the year we were right on track for the 195,000. Then in December it was a little bit slower. Seen it pick back up in January, so hopeful with the full year of the increased rates that we're able to achieve the 206. And then finally in recycling, we had one final quarterly payment that came in 2025 related to the recycling that we did. Will not continue in 2026, and it was just an extra amount that was received. We took a look at cemeteries, no change there. And in St. Lawrence Lodge, as I mentioned, and Councillor Young mentioned, 2025 was our last year for debt payments for St. Lawrence Lodge. That also attracted an interest portion, as well as an amount that came from the provincial government to support those debt payments. And so the net amount of those debt payments was 159,000, which we took out of this budget, the net amount, both the revenue and the expense side, and then moved that over to the Seymour Recreation Complex. When we take a look at parks and recreation revenues, so Walker House, decrease of about 5,700. There was a offsetting decrease in the expenses of 5,700 to be able to support just how we're changing recording of fees and memberships. Rec programming, expecting that to stay the same. Marina, as I mentioned, increasing in the total revenue of 24,000. There was a small decrease in expenses, and so it's now actually producing a small surplus to be able to support the overall operations of the municipality in working to pay back some of the large, massive investment we've made over the last several years in the marina. The LBCC going up by 48,000. That's really due to we have somebody that will be renting the facility for 2 days a week for pretty much the remainder of the year. So that is producing an extra 50,000 in revenue. In the ACC, again, just reflecting the full year in 2025 projection, as well as a 3% increase in the fees. Library, as I mentioned earlier, 7,900 from the town, and then the rest from miscellaneous, and then just a small decrease from budget to budget in the museum for revenue.
Matthew, sorry, Matthew. Who's renting the Leo Boyven 2 days a week?
We're just going to leave their name out of it because we certainly want to just make sure that I have reasons for doing that, so I'm just not going to release the name.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
So when we take a look at planning and development, as I mentioned earlier, the fees are increasing. So the budget's going from 8,000 to 12,000. That it's not that the rates are increasing, but just the volume of work that we've been doing has increased. And then the active tourism revenue is a small decrease of $1,000. So when we take a look at the total fees and revenue, not including property taxes, we're seeing that they're going up by 220,000. So from a property taxation perspective, we're going to take a look at the assessment change from year over year, tax ratios, and the taxes by property class. So as in previous years, the last reassessment that we had was in 2016. We're still on those 2016 values. We should have had a reassessment in 2020 that would have been reflected in 2021. We should have had another reevaluation in 2024. And we continue to sit with only 2016 values and have not been given any date as to when that might be coming forth. So when we take a look at the total assessment change, so last year it was 392,487. This year is 392,497. So really not much of a change. Overall 12,000. You can see that one multi-residential reclassified as residential, and then we had some changes in the commercial. So very little overall growth. There was a couple of reconsiderations that changed things, and so that's part of the concern when we don't have revaluations of assessment, that we're not receiving market growth. It's simply what we're looking at from this perspective. Now, I did want to make one point, is that the hotel is not reflected in these numbers. If you'll remember, we approved a community improvement plan grant for to offset the costs for the brownfield expenses that they incurred. And so there won't be any additional revenue in 2026, but that will start to phase in through 27 through the following number of years as those percentages decrease over 5 years.
Matthew, excuse
Yeah.
me. Those totals at the bottom, that was 392 million, wasn't it?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I think you said 1,000, but I'm not.
You
Just
did.
in case, it's
Yeah.
300. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes that 12,000 look pretty small on 390 million.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we take a look at tax ratios, everything starts at residential at 1, and then everything from there runs from multiples of the residential tax rate. So if you're a new multi-residential, it's 1.1. That's limited by the Ontario government. Our multi-res for the older ones is 1.5, commercial 1.89, industrial 2.63, and pipelines 1.377. Not suggesting any change in those tax ratios, and so they're continuing to contribute similar to the prior year. So when we take a look at this, I am noting that there's a small change that I should have made. What we're suggesting to make the budget balance is an increase of 3.94% overall. That results in a total revenue increase of $322,763. And you can see the impact on the various rate classes as we go through. But the bottom line at this moment is 3.94% of a combined municipal and education tax rate. So what that means for a single family home, we take the median value. Median value means there's half the number of properties above 158 and half that are below 158. There is no value change in terms of the market value from one year to the next. And so the taxes would, on a single family home at the median, increase by $115,075, meaning half of the people will receive a increase more than that, and half will receive an increase of less than that. Similarly, on residential condo units, $111.35 based on a median assessment of 152, $1,356 for an apartment building, small office building 210, small retail commercial 287, and then a standard industrial of $1,270 or 3.77%. So when we take a look at the overall budget, So our total revenues from fees and revenues was 5,041,000. Base property taxation without any increases was 6.8 million. The payments in lieu and supplemental taxes 464. There's 1% dedicated to infrastructure that's included in the budget of 68,000. And then 3.55% for an increase for inflation. So that comes to a total of 12,627,000 for an overall property tax increase of 3.94%, and then total expenses of $12,627,542. So at this moment, the budget is balanced with an overall tax increase of 3.94%. Okay.
All right.
So now, to reiterate that, so as I mentioned, overall property tax increase 309,000. OPP went up by 133, joint services by 41, health unit by 31, St. Lawrence Lodge went down by 28, dedicated to infrastructure of 68, and other inflationary items was only 64. So that's how the draft budget is currently constructed. We can now kind of move on, go to water and wastewater, and then I can cover what the next steps could possibly look like. Or if anyone has any questions now, I'm more than happy to answer what they might be as well.
Okay. I don't see any questions right now, so why don't we go ahead and do water wastewater?
Sure. So water wastewater budget. So first we'll go through the water budget and then the wastewater budget. Just as a reminder, the water budget is made up of two components. One is the water treatment and starts at the intake pipe and stops it when it leaves the plant. The water distribution system starts it when it leaves the plant and arrives at each property. It includes the water mains, water hydrants, as well as the water tower. Now, water revenues are required to cover the cost of the operating of the water system without property tax subsidization, and any surplus is placed into reserve for capital projects. So when we take a look at the revenue, so we're for 2026, we're looking at a 3.5% increase at July 1st. That would break down into 1.4 million in total water revenue, interest amount and occupancy changes to come to a total of 1.44 million in total revenue. When we take a look at the expense side, from water treatment, a total of 834,000 or just shy of 835, and then water distribution 605. Of that, a total of 90, just shy of 100,000 would go into reserve. This is about 30,000 more than last year. Each year we strive to put money into reserve from the water distribution side and the wastewater collection side. It supports the road reconstructions that we do. So projects such as East Street, water main repairs or fixes, that sort of thing at the water treatment plant. There again, it supports any capital projects. The one that it will be supporting this year is the break wall reconfiguration at the water treatment plant. And so we continue to add to those reserves on a yearly basis. From a wastewater perspective, it's made up of, again, two components. One starts at the property line and works its way through the system to the wastewater pumping stations as well as sewer manholes. And then the wastewater treatment plant, where it ends up in Edwardsburg Cardinal, down in Johnstown, goes into the plant, is treated, and then returns to the river. So again, wastewater revenues are required to cover the cost of operating the system without property tax subsidization, and any surplus is placed into reserve to support the capital projects. So when we take a look at this side, the wastewater budget, the total revenue for water charges will be $1.8 million. Interest, approximately 83,000. Occupancy charges, changes 1,800. And then the Edwards Cardinal share of the wastewater treatment plant would be about 94,000 for a total of just over $2 million in revenue. The expenses would equal the same amount with the contribution to reserve of 307,000. And that's broken down into 163 for the wastewater treatment plant and 144 for wastewater collection. So there again, wastewater collection and water distribution go to support the rehabilitation and street reconstructions, and then anything for the water treatment plant or the wastewater treatment plant goes into reserve for larger projects, capital renewal, and improvements to the plant itself. So when we take a look at the total budget, it's 3.4 million for revenues, 3.4 million in expenses, and that assumes a rate increase at 3.5% at July 1st. Just as a note, I did look up what we contributed last year to reserve. And so for water reserves, it was 69,000. Wastewater reserve was 377 in the budget for a total of 445. So that has decreased by about 38,000 over last year. But water was a little bit higher, wastewater was a little bit lower, but similar in terms of the amount that we put into reserve, and again, to support our capital projects and spending. So when we take out the operational budget, at this moment, we have a balanced budget of 3.94% property tax increase. We have a water and wastewater rate that would increase by 3.5% at July 1st. And really with this new legislation and the concept is being presented this evening as the draft budget operational for review. During this time, between basically tomorrow and 30 days from now, council can propose amendments to the budget. What we suggest that we've gone through the process this evening to go through it. If over the next week or week and a few days, if there's any questions, people wanting additional information, that sort of thing, if they can let me know by Tuesday of next week, then that gives me the opportunity to answer those questions in preparation for the February 9th budget or council meeting, and then we can continue our review going from there. If nothing is brought forward, then I would not intend on bringing anything to council for discussion. But anything that is sent to myself and the mayor, then certainly we can address in the next meeting. Similarly, following our February 9th meeting, over the following week, if you're able to let me know by the 17th, then we can have that discussion at the February 23rd meeting. And again, it's an opportunity for council to propose and move any amendments that they may wish to. With this particular legislation, there's an opportunity once council has decided to amend the budget. Following that 30-day period, the mayor can review and veto any amendments to the draft budget that were passed. And that's a 10-day period. And then if anything was vetoed, council can reconsider that in a 15-day period and require 5 of 7 members to override the veto of the mayor. Again, I didn't make this up. And so don't shoot the messenger. And so that's kind of the process that we have. At this moment, we have a balanced budget. It has a property tax increase of 3.94%, a water and wastewater budget that's balanced that has an increase of 3.5%, that still contributes to reserve to be able to support those street reconstruction projects, as well as anything else that may come up as we go through the project's budget. But this is the process that's been laid out by the province and through legislation. So more than happy to answer there any questions there might be. I know that was a long presentation, but hopefully informative at the same time.
Okay, so let me see if there's any questions. Okay, I have Councillor Campbell. Anyone else? All right, we'll start with Councillor Campbell.
Through you, Mayor Shankar, to Matthew, can you remind me what our rates were last year? What did we have our tax rate at last year?
I believe we increased our property tax rate by 3.95% last year.
Mm.
And the water?
The water was 4% last year.
Okay, great, thank you.
So Matthew, you got it. You did get it under last year.
I did.
By 0.01%. Well done, well done. Anyone else have questions for Matthew at this time? All right, seeing none, we've got the process there, so we'll adhere to that and we'll move forward. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have resolutions. So 13.1 was the City of Kingston, the support for prioritization and funding of Kingston Health Services Science Center redevelopment project. Councillor Young, did you want to speak to that resolution, or do you have the resolution to read it?
I can speak to it, Mayor Shankar.
Great.
Thank you very much. So the Kingston Health Sciences Center is one of the largest acute care, is the largest.
Did we lose her?
Her power might have died.
Did the power go out in Prescott?
No. But she might be rejoining. I can speak to it a bit if you'd like.
Sure, until
Yeah.
she comes back, or go ahead.
Is she gone? Are we able to confirm that?
I don't see her in my group of.
Yeah, she was missing.
Yeah, I think she'll be rejoining. But the Kingston Health Science Center, right, is the largest acute care and cancer center in southeastern Ontario. It serves. Oh, who's scrolling there? We're good. It's serving more than 500,000 residents across a broad regional catchment, including Lennox and Addington, Frontenac, Hastings, Prince Edward County, Leeds and Grenville, and more. I think, especially in Prescott, right? You have two options. It's Ottawa or Kingston. I think several residents choose Kingston for the health science department there. We are, as told by several doctors, we're in one of these regional areas where we have a higher cancer rate than most. I think, getting behind and supporting, prioritizing the funding and the redevelopment project only stands to benefit our residents on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to note, Councillor Young has returned.
Okay. Councillor Young, did you want to read the resolution, or would you like Councillor Kirkby to read it?
I can read the resolution. I apologize, my power died.
No worries, no worries.
Okay. Do you want me to read the whole resolution?
I think so.
Okay. At the regular council meeting on December 16th, 2025, council approved resolution number 2026-32. This was the City of Kingston with respect to support for prioritization and funding of Kingston Health Sciences Center redevelopment project as follows. Whereas the Kingston Health Sciences Center is the largest acute care and cancer center in southeastern Ontario, serving more than 500,000 residents across a broad regional catchment area, including Lennox and Addington, Frontenac, Hastings, Prince Edward County, Leeds and Grenville, and more. And whereas KHSC's primary hospital site, Kingston General Hospital, is operating in an aged, constrained facility with critical infrastructure that no longer meets modern healthcare standards for patient safety, accessibility, and clinical innovation. And whereas the proposed KHSC redevelopment project, including a major rebuild of KGH and the Cancer Center of Eastern Ontario, will strengthen regional access to emergency services, surgical care, maternal and pediatric care, cancer care, and specialized programs that local hospitals rely on. And whereas ensuring the province of Ontario prioritizes and funds the KHSC rebuild will provide significant benefits to all municipalities in the region. Reducing service. Go to the next page. Backlogs, improving patient care, and supporting equitable healthcare outcomes. And whereas the City of Kingston is continually advocating with the province for the KHSC rebuild, and within our capacity helping them on land potential in the city's West End, and whereas a unified regional voice is essential to demonstrate to the provincial government the urgency and broad community support for investment in modern, resilient, and future-ready hospital infrastructure in southeastern Ontario. And whereas the province is currently consulting Ontarians about their 2026 budget priorities, and this is a time for Kingston and neighboring communities to express their continued support for this project, to have it included in their budget. Therefore, be it resolved that Kingston City Council formally requests the support of neighboring and partner municipalities across southeastern Ontario in advocating to the province of Ontario for the prioritization and full funding of the Kingston Health Sciences Centre redevelopment project. And that Kingston City Council requests supporting municipalities to write a motion of support to be sent to the Honourable Doug Ford, the MPP Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Sylvia Jones, MPP Minister of Health, the Honourable Kinga Surma, MPP Minister of Infrastructure, Deborah Richardson, Deputy Minister of Health, Michelle DeManuel, Ontario Secretary of the Cabinet, Ted Yu, MPP Kingston and the Islands, John Jordan, MPP Lanark Frontenac. Oh, where am I? Rick Brzee, MPP, Hastings, Lennox and Addington, and Steve Clark, MPP, Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes, urging immediate advancement of the KHSC rebuild in the provincial capital plan.
And
Andy.
Oh, here we go.
And advocating to the province of Ontario for the prioritization and full funding of the Kingston Health Sciences Centre redevelopment project. And that Kingston City Council request supporting municipalities to write a motion to the
Oh, no, we already read that part.
the people that I just talked about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and went to this paragraph.
just the last paragraph.
That a copy of this motion be shared with the following municipal governments: Loyalist, South Frontenac, Greater Napanee, Frontenac Islands, Gananoque, Leeds and Thousand Islands, Belleville, Quinte West, Prince Edward County, Brockville, Prescott, Smith Falls, North Grenville, and any other municipalities that rely on KHSC for specialized care. So again, they're just looking for a unified voice to advocate on their behalf.
Great, thank you. I didn't realize it was that long. Sorry. Do we need, Matthew, do we need to do anything else on that?
Yeah.
So if I think if we can get a mover and a seconder, and if there's,
I'll move it, Justin.
Sorry, why, okay, you'll move it. Tracy, you want to second it?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, and then all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Great.
Aye.
Carried, thank you. Ray, you have a question?
No,
Okay,
Oh,
thank,
since this is not, at this moment, a commitment, a financial commitment, correct?
no, there's no financial commitment,
No,
not now.
just supporting the resolution.
Okay, so presumably a financial request will come down the road. We're already giving $30,000 a year to Brockville General. We're almost finished our 10-year commitment of that. I think you could probably just receive the same letter from the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario, saying the same things. So obviously we're not opposed to anything, but financially we can't probably give a substantial amount to all of these requests. I think in the past, did we not have one from Winchester at one time? Or maybe it was Kempville. Anyway, the point is there are a lot of hospitals out there, and I don't think we can support all of them, even though we do have residents that do benefit from them being there.
Absolutely, and I mean, I wish we could support them all, but that is not our role. And I mean, if we can support them by carrying this resolution forward, we'll do that. And if they come with a financial ask down the road, we'll deal with that when it comes. All
Yeah,
right.
if I may
Excellent.
there, I didn't read it as that, Ray, or Counselor Young. I read that as we're providing support in Kingston, KGHS, or Kingston Health Science Center, in seeking funding from the province. I didn't see anywhere where they indicated that they would be coming back looking for money from us.
I believe you're correct, but I also believe history will tell us that that's a possibility down the road.
Yep. As is every social club and
Exactly.
charity,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? Councillor Campbell?
Just the one paragraph says, whereas the province is currently consulting Ontarians about their budget priorities, and this is a time for Kingston and neighboring communities to express their continued support for this project to have it included in their budget.
I still
Okay.
don't read it that way. Sorry.
Okay, so we did approve this, right? And we carried it. So we're going to move on to the next one. The next one is the town of Smith Falls urging province to reinstate the eligibility for curbside blue box collection. Councillor McConnell, that's yours. Did you want to speak to it?
Thank you, Mayor Shanker. As I mentioned earlier, this was going to come up a bit later, but basically, there are, as I mentioned before, food banks, Legion, places that really could use their money to better purposes than having their recycling picked up. The province has already indicated several years ago that they were moving to this system where these suppliers, the manufacturers of these things, were going to be responsible for the cost of collection. And I believe their feet should be held to the fire and collect all of the stuff, not just get away with cutting or collecting up the residential. So this is showing support for churches, as I said, Legion, food banks, um, places that rely on charitable good works, on donations, and I think the people responsible for supplying us with these collectibles that we can all take home and recycle should be responsible for collecting them at these places as well. And this simply speaks to that.
All right, so would you like to move this resolution?
I would.
Do we have a seconder for it?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Okay, let's call the question, and then you can read the resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, sounds like it carried. So, Lee, how long is this resolution?
I don't think we necessarily need to read it.
Okay.
I think we can word it in a way that, we get
Okay,
it.
sorry about that, sorry about that, Councillor Young. I didn't realize it was as long as it was.
That's all right. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let me look here. What's next? Okay, so that was passed. We have no bylaws today, no new businesses, no notices of motions, and no mayor's proclamations. Any media questions, Matthew?
No.
Oh, great. No media questions. Okay, so next up, we're going to do a closed session. So the motion is that council move into closed session at 7:36 p.m. to discuss matters pertaining to 19.1, approval of closed session minutes from January 12th, 2026, and 19.2 is a human resources matter under section 239(2)B under the Municipal Act, personal matters about an identifiable individual, and that the Director of Administration, clerk, and deputy clerk remain in the room. Can I have a mover and seconder for that, please? I see, hold on. Let me look here. I got Deputy Mayor Young and Councillor McConnell. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you, Matthew. I think you're leaving, or he's left already. Okay. Do we need a break? or-
Everybody.
Pardon me? Sorry, Matt Locke, did you say something?
Oh, I was just signing off and thanking everybody. Have a good
Okay,
evening.
thank you, sir.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank
You'll
you,
just have to
Chief.
give me a second to stop the live stream.